Welcome to the intro section we have at the beginning of every one of these Haycasts. Now, this weekend we have for you guys, we have buy one, get one free on Cannibal Carnage, Cannibal Claw, Red Sky, and Inferno. Basically, all of our fat burners, because football season, right? So, with that being said, there's also a 25% off code. I will link that, or I will put that in the description box below so you guys can take advantage over at www.chaosandpain.com. So, and if you have not already subscribed to our newsletter, you need to sign up. This is one of the ways in which you will learn about sales like this very one. Go to www.chaosandpain.com/subscribe to do so. Now, in this episode, we have Ryan Skelly back. And we go over some training tips that you guys can implement in your path to growth. Because right now, I'm in the middle of a bulk. I'm closing up on 300. And Ryan Skelly, which is also someone similar to my height, he's a competitive bodybuilder, such and such. His credentials are longer than mine. But he's also bulking, and we went over some of the things that helped him. Also, in the first part of this, we also go over some of the nutrition aspects. But with that being said, guys, enjoy the show. Welcome to the newest Haycast, and I am joined again by Ryan Skelly. Now, I believe that is the way your name is pronounced, but if that is not, please correct me.
Nope, that's it.
Okay, because I heard Wayne call you Skelly, so I think that was just him being...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell people it's just Kelly, like saying Kelly with an S in front of it. It's just,
Yeah.
So
Skelly. Think Jack
Yeah.
Skellington.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
so... We do want to address something before this Haycast starts. So, I'm sure everybody's heard by now, or everybody's seen the video by now, where this teenager gets attacked for deadlifting in a gym. Now, Ryan, you just saw the video. What are your and I'll link the video, by the way. The kid who actually got quote unquote attacked, or I would call it an assault. He actually has a YouTube video, and I will link his channel down in the description box below to give him full credit. But what are your opinions on what you saw happen?
I think it's pretty childish on the adults, action of going over to the kid. I mean, the kid wasn't even, not like he was screaming and like making a bunch of ridiculous noise and like throwing his shit around. I mean, he was just deadlifting, and he even had. He had mats on the side to protect the plates from they weren't hitting the floor. I mean, the kid was just training.
Yeah.
The guy seemed like he just flipped out because of the sound of the plates hitting the ground. I mean, I think he probably just got into power trip. The guy who kicked him out maybe saw this kid he can take advantage of, and I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. I was kind of shocked.
From the video, what I can see, now this is, kind of a bad publicity for the gym. It was Pete Rubish's client. And this kid, Charles, the one who was the person deadlifting in the video, he's actually Pete Rubish's client. And from what I can see, he's being nothing but respectful deadlifting in the gym. I mean, he's putting mats down. Yeah. He's not lifting with shit form. He's not screaming. He's not, and when he sets the weight down, he sets it down very slow and controlled. And I know that the gym in question, BuzzFit, is one of those kind of like Planet Fitnesses in the States or wherever you're at, because they're I don't know, is Planet Fitness worldwide?
I don't think so. I think it's just here in the States right now.
Well, I know they have some of the same sort of policies. Although I will say it looks like they have more equipment now because they have dip bars. It looks like from the video. It looks like I don't know if I can't really see a squat rack, although I only see part of the gym. But so what ends up happening is this guy's being very respectful, and this guy who, by the way, this is kind of fresh for you because you've actually never watched the video. You've seen it going around, but you never watched the video. The dude in the animal tank doesn't even work at the gym.
That's the guy who kicked him out doesn't even work there?
Correct.
That's even wrong. It's like the guy, his membership should be revoked.
It was. And see, that's another thing. I see a lot of these fitness channels and everything taking advantage of this, talking about this, and we were asked to talk about this. So that's why I'm kind of addressing it. But I kind of wanted to wait until everything kind of fleshed out. The individual in question, Mr. Animal with the weightlifting belt flexing in front of the mirror over there, he is, apparently his membership got revoked. Charles is pressing charges, so it was an assault. I mean, everybody could, and pretty much everybody, how fucking pissed off would you be if somebody came up in the middle of your set, put his foot on the bar you were deadlifting with? Not only is he opening you up to injuries, but, with my hot temper, he's opening himself up to injuries.
What if he kicks that bar down and the kid's, going down on the deadlift? What happens if he pulls his back out or the bar hits him in the knees and, there's just it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, because, because the margin of error when something, if there's an opposing force like that and your lumbar spine is in a compromised position like that, that could end very badly. Not only muscle strains, but potential disc issues and stuff like that. I don't know. It's a weird situation all around. I will say that it's being handled by BuzzFit. It's being handled by the individual. And, other than it being a talking point for fitness celebrities or YouTube channels or anything, there's not much really more I can say about it. It looks to be like the issue has been taken care of. But my opinion on this, and our opinion at Chaos and Pain is, fine. If a gym won't allow you to deadlift, find a different gym. It's one of the best movements.
Yep.
Speaking of best movements, now we're going to kind of switch gears here into the training portion of the progress tangent that we went on in the previous podcast. So, what are some of the movements and how did you go about structuring your training in order to progress as much as you have? What did you change this bulk?
Honestly, doing less. I worked on trying to, the compound lift, staying as heavy, going a lot heavier was still a good form. I'm not doing, I'm not talking only doing 4 reps. I'm talking getting at least 6 to 8 reps, but going as heavy as I can, not being, making sure I had a spotter with me to allow me to push myself. But honestly, it was doing less volume, moving a little bit of heavier weight in the beginning of the workout, and then increasing the reps as the workout progressed. So start heavy, heavier weight, a little lower volume, and then as the workout progressed, I would add sets and reps. So by the end of the workout, let's say for chest, I might do incline, get warmed up, and then do maybe 2 working sets of anywhere from 6 to 10. And then I might go and do a dumbbell press, 3 sets of 6 to 8 in there. And by the time I finish the workout, I'm doing maybe a tricep, which people don't know what a tricep is. It's doing 3 exercises in a row without a break, and then you rest for about a minute or 2. And I might finish off with that, where it's anywhere from 12 to 20 reps, and then just trying to push a lot of blood in the muscle, focus some more time and attention and contraction because I'm fatigued at that point. So I'm not going to move heavy weight. You know, it's going to lead to injury. But the goal then was to try to get the mind muscle connection as strong as I could, get as much blood in there, and then get the hell out of the gym in like an hour, and then eat and rest. None of these 2 to 3 hour workouts. And I actually implemented like intra-carb intra-workout nutrition a little bit, more than I have in the past. I think that helped just get the calories in, keep the endurance up, and enhance my recovery while I'm breaking down. So
yeah, and something everybody can kind of take away from the intra workout. So intra workout, do you make your own shakes? I know Mercury. We have Mercury, but Mercury is currently out of stock because we're in the midst of reformulating.
I use. I've tried a lot of carb, like intra workout, like carb products, but True Nutrition, theirs seems to settle the best with me. They're highly branched chain dextrin or whatever. Their carb product, because you can make your own flavors too. You can customize the flavors however you want.
Right.
So I use that, and I also use Pepto Pro. So pretty much Pepto Pro, in a nutshell, for those who don't know, it's pretty much like adding protein, to the intra workout. It's just the quality is just a lot better in protein. But that's pretty much what, I do 1 scoop of the Pepto Pro, and then I'll do anywhere from 90 to 150 carbs into workout. Sometimes I'll, have 90 carbs of the drink, and then I'll eat like a Pop-Tart, in between body parts. If I'm doing like chest and shoulders, I'll do chest, eat the Pop-Tart, then do shoulders, and then go home and eat. Just because sometimes for me, drinking, 150 carbs, it's a lot to drink. It can sometimes make your stomach a little bit upset. So, I found for me 90 with the liquid is good to 100. And then if I have more, then I'm eating just a Pop-Tart or like a Rice Krispie treat, something fast, has some sugar in there, just to keep me going and get more calories in.
Yeah. Now, have you played around with testing like blood sugar during your workouts and stuff?
I have not.
I have noticed something for myself specifically. Now, this is the thing with intra workout people is it's highly individual. Now, some people work out fasted. That doesn't seem to work for me, right?
No,
I've tried it, and I've tried to make it work because it's purported to have it's said to have many benefits. None of them seem to be worth the performance that I lose by working out fasted. But it's intra workout's one of those things where it's just so highly individual, just like your post, pre, and all that other jazz, your nutrition really. So if you have not experimented with it before, something I would suggest to everybody is make sure that your intra workout has a carb source, some sort of carb source. It could be simple sugar. See how that affects you, right? Like I know you have a bunch of people toting around gummy bears, which whatever.
I've done that too.
I would suggest that if that doesn't work for you, try slower digesting carbs like oats. That's a personal favorite of mine, mainly because of the texture and taste. And don't be afraid to add a little bit of salt in with that, because sometimes when people hit that wall in the middle of their workout, it has more to do with, because the bodybuilding and fitness world is obsessed with overhydration. People you see with their gallon jugs of water, and then they have low sodium diets because, quote unquote, salt is bad. And so try, that's another thing you can try if you're hitting a wall, is popping a little salt. See if that helps. Because sometimes that's enough for me personally just to bust through that wall and get through the rest of my workout. Which is
you should. Sorry, I was going to say pre-workout, you should have a high sodium meal.
Yeah.
And in all reality, low sodium is not healthy. It's not good. If you listen to Stan Efferding with his vertical diet, actually many people are low sodium. And people say, well, they have a cheat meal, right? It happens to me. I'm just as guilty. And I won't put on weight the day after, but 2 days after, I'm up, 2 or 3 pounds, and it's holding water, and all it is the delayed response to that overload of sodium from a cheat meal because my body's not used to having that much sodium. If you are training, whether you're bulking, if you're eating a lot of food like I am right now, I don't go crazy into sodium because I still get sodium from from putting the condiments on and stuff like that.
Right,
but I do add it to my meals, but especially the pre-workout meal. But if you're dieting, and if you're one of these people doing the keto diet fad now, or you're doing the no carb diet, you should have an abundance of sodium in every meal to hold water in the muscle and just for overall function. But in that vertical diet, he was saying, a lot of people, they don't even come close that sodium is actually, it's needed at a high amount if you are training and you're resistance training and, and whatnot.
Not only that, but people have short memories when it comes to training and nutrition advice across the ages. So one of the things that Jamie's been harping forever, and one of his favorite foods, is chicken wings and tater tots, right? Where those are just loaded with sodium, And so those, Jamie's been preaching high sodium for a while. Stan Efferding started preaching high sodium with the vertical diet. And what's interesting is if you look back at old footage of like football games and stuff, you'd see that they'd have little salt packets on the field.
Yep.
And they would actually have their athletes take a swig of water and just pop a salt tab, right? Noon tabs. They used to use noon tabs.
Yeah, it helps avoid cramping because the salt helps hold the water in,
Also helps with energy production. Cramping. I mean, the thing about it is electrolytes are so important with in regards to the proper function of a muscle. So you need it to avoid cramping in endurance events, but you also need it to properly fire, right, so to speak, in our purposes, bodybuilding purposes.
Right.
So, and I'll be honest with you. I'm bulking right now, just like you are, and I'm sweating like a pig. And there goes all my sodium.
Yeah, I went golfing this morning, and it's morning, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm like soaked. I'm dripping, and literally I'm chugging water. I did bring a meal with me, which I partially ate. Like I had a bar, so I wasn't going with nothing. But literally halfway through the round, all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, it's hotter out, but I'm not sweating nearly as much. One, I believe your body, if you've been in air conditioning all day, once you get outside, the initial impact of that heat, your body goes in fight or flight, and it will try to cool you down. But one, I reacted to the heat, my body adjusted, but honestly, it was telling me, all right, I'm now getting dehydrated from sweating so much. I have nothing, like it's almost like I'm almost out of water to excrete and sweat out. So I came home. What I do, I had my meal, added extra salt, and I just been sitting here getting water back in just to rehydrate because I also start to feel a little lethargic and tired. So especially if you're out in the heat and like if you're an athlete, like a football player and stuff or baseball, you gotta keep that sodium in, like pickle juice. That's an old timer thing people do, like or eat pickles and that stuff. And people just do it because they hear about it. They don't know the science behind it. And why am I having pickle juice? It's loaded with sodium.
Coincidentally, if you go to like track and field for your kids, you'll always notice that out at fairgrounds and track and field days specifically, they have like your sports drinks or whatever, right? But they also have pickles. They also have those oversized pickles, and that's the reason. Is it literally is there for the? It used to be an old trick that coaches used to do too. They used to bring around pickles, like a jar of pickles, to the game with them.
My old coach. That's how I would load up with my old coach I had. I would he'd be like, all right, add two spears of pickles and a little bit of salt, so that way I was still getting sodium from both. But it's funny, everyone says, oh, I need bananas, I need potassium. Potassium will help with cramping, but it's not. You can't eat a banana and get the instant relief like you will from sodium. because it just hits your body a lot faster with absorption rate. Everyone thinks, oh, I need a banana. That's not going to relieve, if you're cramping or have those issues, that's not going to relieve it fast enough. Your body has to break down eating the banana, digestion, as with the salt. I mean, it gets in you quick, you know?
Coincidentally, you know, so there's that whole wives' tale, well, wives' tale for some, reality for others, that you shouldn't go swimming for 30 minutes after you eat, right?
Yeah.
And that's because they think you're gonna cramp up, like seize up and have some like you know, massive muscle cramp and like sit there and drown in your swimming pool, right?
Right.
So a lot of that has to do with you know, eating habits back in the day were a lot different than they are now, even 100 years back. And fresh fruit and stuff like that used to be more common than you know, the salty foods that we have now today. So, you know, just like I had to explain that to my daughter, you know, like she's like, shouldn't you, you know, because she's, you know, a kid, shouldn't you wait 30 minutes? I was like, no, it doesn't work that way. No. And then I went to a long explanation, and then she kind of just tuned out because she's a teenager. Speaking of tuning out, I'm sure we're losing people by now, but that's okay.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
Let's get back to training. So,
right.
One of the things that I had always wondered about competitors and their training when it comes to off-season versus in-season, right? Do you do anything to your training volume, the weight scheme you use, the variations you use during your workouts comparatively to, do you do it differently bulking versus in contest seat prep? How would you structure those differently?
I mean, it honestly depends on the diet. I mean, the training program that Cornelius had me do in the off season, it was very, very intense. So without the calories, I literally it wasn't physically possible. I could do it for a couple of days, and my central nervous system, I wasn't getting the recovery. It wasn't necessarily muscular fatigue. Like I said, my central nervous system just in general from maybe lack of sleep, lack of food. So in the off season, once I get my food up, my weight up, you know, it is a different style of workout. You burn a ton of calories with it, but you know, I can do that in the beginning of a prep, and it'll help lean me out faster. I do it to increase strength. It also keeps me lean while I'm bulking without having to do much cardio. But when I'm getting close to a show, I still try to keep my heavy compound lifts. I still try to stay as heavy as I can within reason. But I don't change my workout style very much until maybe the last week or two, when you really start to get dry, you really start to get, you know, very lean, and I will not go as heavy. You know, let's say if I'm just an example, dumbbell benching 100s, right, in the off season, I will try to keep that anywhere from 90 pounds to 100 while prepping. And then if a couple weeks out, you know, I might just do 70s, because at that point, you're not eating enough food or even the supplementation to gain muscle. You're not going to gain muscle in 2 weeks. You know,
it's a very long process for those who don't.
Right.
Know.
So at that point, you are picking a weight I pick a weight that's moderately heavy that will just allow me to maintain the look, still put the muscle under a little more tension with the heaviest weight I can. And I honestly too, I listen to my body. If my pec is feeling tight or my joints are not feeling great, then I'm always not going to push it that day. But there's days when I'm dieting where I feel good, maybe 1 every 5 days. Yeah, I might try to really push it that day. But I really think the longer you do it, it's listening to your body, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, we had a little bit of interruption there. But
I mean, the biggest thing, like I was saying, just listen to your body when you get pretty close. Because when you're that in shape and you're that dry and shredded, you don't ever feel good. So
yeah, no, you start accumulating fatigue both mentally and physically.
Right.
And you know, something else that I'd like to cover, I'd like to know your opinions on it, is you know, everybody has this misconception when they're green when they're first starting training, right?
Right.
They have this misconception that if you're doing, for instance, lat pull downs, right, and you feel amazing one day, and then you go in for your first pull up, right, and then you feel bad the next time you go to pull back again, or you train back again, so you go back to lat pull downs. They feel like something I've noticed is they feel like you would have a less effective training, or the effect would be less effective because you already moved to pull-ups, right? And I have the hypothesis that and it's worked in my training, is like, if I'm not feeling particularly strong in my grip, I'll switch to lat pull downs just because it's working the same muscle groups. And what are your opinions on that? Like, people have this one way to do things, or else all the others doesn't work mentality when they first start training. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Everyone thinks, okay, my coach or I wrote this workout today. I have to do every exercise, every set, every rep for what is written down.
Right.
And all of a sudden, let's say you go, like you said, you're doing barbell rows, right? And you're not feeling, your back's not contracting, you're feeling more bicep, maybe your lower back's irritated. You don't continue to keep doing the damn exercise. You say, okay, I'm going to move on to, something different.
Yeah.
Kind of
like how Jamie doesn't squat, and I actually started squatting once a week versus twice a week, and my knees are feeling significantly better. So
yeah, I don't really squat much anymore, just because.
Yeah, you had mentioned you had squat, and
I did. Yeah, I did squats maybe. I was going light, but like a month ago, I did just 315 for 5 sets of 5. And later that day and stuff, my hips were just bugging me because I just need to get them, increase the flexibility in them. That's the biggest issue. But I have gone back into it. But once again, being smart. Like doing 405 like I used to for 8, I could probably go do it, but what's the point? I'm going to get hurt. And it's not going to. I've noticed squatting when you're 6'4", it hasn't helped increase my leg size. My ass just gets bigger. If putting plates under my heels or plates under my toes, that will help isolate the quads better. But I still find I get better contraction in my legs, get a better pump doing hack squat, the leg press, or like the hammer strength, the horizontal leg press where it's straight out in front of you. Yeah. That, for me, that feels good on my knees, but it destroys my quads, and I actually can get my glutes activated if I go deep enough. So being taller, as you know, it's harder to squat properly to really isolate the quads. So I've noticed that doing things at this stage of the game has helped me grow my legs. And I haven't, I used to squat 600, and my legs were not nearly the size they are now. So,
well, people also forget too is that the squat is not just a quad movement.
Right.
I tend to get a lot of hamstring growth and glute growth off of squats like nothing else.
Same.
But when it comes to and I have some theories on that with taller guys, but nothing's concrete. But we're always going to pretty much have like just gigantic hamstrings and gigantic glutes, and we're going to have little baby quads unless we do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And but something that has helped me significantly is these super squat machines. I'm really a fan of the ones that allow you to play with your foot placement more than a barbell squat does.
Are you talking about the ones that it goes over your shoulders?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I do use those, and like you said, I love them because you can put your feet close, wide, far away from your body, almost below your body. Those I have used, and I don't consider that a squat though, but
yeah,
being taller, that's something people should implement.
Definitely, yeah. And something else too is plate under the heel. I see a lot of guys who they're tall like us, and they end up buying squat shoes or something like that, and actually end up tracking their knees too far forward because of the way that they're built.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, I mean, their knees are, 2 or 3 feet out in front of them.
Hmm.
Of course that's exaggerated, but it's
Yeah.
just it's you have to play around with it, guys. If you haven't tried putting plates underneath your heels to squat, try it. If you haven't tried hack squats, try them. Don't be afraid to try new variations for the muscle groups that you already want to grow. And that's
I
another
will
thing
say,
too. Go ahead.
before you got off the topic, I was going to mention, if people do have knee problems, actually putting the plate under your toes, it will also allow you to put more pressure on your heels, but it doesn't. When you put the plate under your heels, it's almost natural to put more weight on the balls of your feet. So you might have more pressure on your knees unless you know actually how to do the movement properly. But you put plates under your toes, it puts more of the pressure on the heel and actually will take pressure off your knee. I've been training kids and stuff, athletes who have knee problems, who just grow too fast. Myself, that has been a really good solution to get their squat form better. But it also takes that pressure off the knee, because if your foot is angled upwards, you are not going to, go opposite and push your toes onto that plate. You're going to keep your toe up, which puts more pressure on your heel, which in turn you're going to push through the floor more, as they say, and you are going to get more isolation on the quad. So that's a little trick people can do too.
Interesting. I might have to implement some of that. See,
Yep.
it's these little nuances that you can gain from podcasts such as this. I suggest everybody try that. I also suggest that, just like you said, if you know, it's it's a bitch. People think that you have to squat to grow quads. You have to deadlift to grow a back. You have to bench, barbell bench, I should say, to grow pecs. And there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. Um, and when it comes down to it, if squats are giving you too much trouble, ditch them for a little bit and come back to them later. Because sometimes when you strengthen the muscles around, like for instance, if you have weak hamstrings and it's causing you problems in your squat, then train hamstrings, ditch the squat, come back. That could also be another solution that people kind of neglect. So, but speaking of variation, something I would also like to address, I see people who barbell bench press scared to go back and use dumbbells. What's with that?
I don't know, because I don't barbell bench. I don't believe I. A lot of the studies I've seen, and you watch all these pro bodybuilders and stuff. Is there a time and a place for it? I guess, but a lot of guys, how'd you tear your pec? Oh, benching, barbell
Yeah,
benching. You don't hear many people say they tore their pec doing dumbbells, right? I mean, it's very rare. I also feel that flat bench, it is very hard to isolate your chest. Ben Pukalski, the MI40, if you, when you're doing it, if you imagine like you're trying to bend the bar, just pushing your hands together, that does put more contraction with your chest. But I've grown my chest a lot in the last 2 years, and I haven't barbell benched at all. I used to start a chest workout, 225 for 25. Didn't build my chest at all. I barely have a pump.
yeah,
I just felt it more on my shoulders. You see a lot of injury with flat barbell bench, leading to guys tearing pecs. And unless you're a powerlifter, I don't see, for chest development, I don't see it being beneficial, because you're using too many other muscles to help get the weight up. Whether it's you actually do use your lats, or else you're using your delts or your triceps as we're a dumbbell. You're going to be able to isolate your chest better, but you're also working each side of your body independently. Your dominant side is not going to take over on a dumbbell. If it does, you'll know, because one dumbbell isn't going to move. you know.
right, right,
So when I train athletes and kids, we don't do a whole lot of, we don't do barbell bench curl unless it's football. We do dumbbell, and they realize, wow, my left side is a lot weaker than my right, and they can't really move the dumbbell. That's like, well, we have to work on that too. You want to even your body out, and I feel like too, with bodybuilding, you're trying to make everything as you want to have symmetry and make everything balanced. So last thing you want to do is have your dominant side take over And we'll move on to the topic. But the last thing I noticed when I played baseball as a kid, my right lat was always a lot bigger than my left. It's almost like I had no left lat, and I never understood it. And as I got older and started lifting, I'm like, okay, with throwing and being right hand dominant, the right side of my back and stuff was a lot more developed. So I just started focusing on a lot of dumbbell stuff, working each side independently, and now I've almost evened them out.
Yeah.
So that's why I think doing dumbbells as a bodybuilder, someone trying to develop your physique is very good. And unfortunately, when people ask you how much you bench, you can't tell them. I tell people, like, how much you bench? I'm like, I don't know, I don't bench. They're like, what? I'm like, the stereotypical question, so.
And then they're just
believer.
left there with their mouth gaped open going, what?
Right.
What? How?
What?
Yeah.
Right, you don't bench? Or, how much do you deadlift? And it's like, well, a couple of years ago, 600, but I don't deadlift anymore. Too much lower back. I do rack pulls, which is pretty similar. I think doing rack pulls, I do think deadlifting, it gives your back a different look that you can't get. You can tell when someone's back is developed off of a machine. It's wide, but there's no separation. There's very little thickness or detail. You can tell if someone's built a back off of barbell rows, rack pulls, maybe deads. Their back is just thicker, and also, too, doing rack pulls or deadlifts or barbell rows, you're going to hit your rear delts, too. And they tend to have very large rear delts. But I'm kind of in between with the deadlift and squatting, the up and down thought of does it increase your waist size, in that regard. But I do believe in doing like rack pulls. I think that's still a good thing for the back. It takes your hamstrings and glutes and stuff out of it,
Yeah. Well, I'm also a fan of rack pulls too, because even if you are a power lifter or you are a strong man or whatever your sport is or whatever you train for, right, everybody can almost universally benefit from a stronger back. And rack pulls definitely build a stronger back. Not only that, but they can help you get past sticking points in your deadlift. They can help you get past sticking points in your squat if that is part of your regimen. They can help you build a bigger bench just because your back is involved in so many different things. It's not just your backside. If you're benching, if you bench like I do, your lats fire at the same time, right?
Yep.
I'm one of those guys. That's another thing. Is that very common? People who have their lats just fire like crazy while they're benching? Because I've noticed that in some people.
They should. The science has shown with that motion, you're going to activate your lats when you're pressing up. Your lats will contract, and that's another thing that could take away from if someone's back dominant and not chest dominant. They might use their lats a little more triceps than actually using the chest. But yes, it is a motion where your lats, believe it or not, they will activate. You might not think it, but they surprisingly do.
Well, there you go. I also have to agree with your inclusion of unilateral movements.
Yep.
Because, look, I understand the big barbell movements make you feel strong and they make you feel powerful, but all it's gonna take is for you to go up on the deadlift or go up on a bench, and just one of the sides of your body just falls or gives out, for you to be humbled. And it's not a good feeling. I've been there, trust me. And so make sure that you implement at least some sort of unilateral movement. Not only that, but unilateral movements are basically the most fundamentally functional version of the movements themselves, because at any given time of the day, you're not moving both sides of your body all the time. Like, you're not reaching up to get something out of a shelf with both arms, generally. When you run, both your feet, they hit the ground differently. They fire independently, right? When you, other things that happen in life. But it's one of those things where I'm concerned about building a good foundation so that when I'm older I won't break a hip. Because that is something that's some pretty interesting research coming out, that there's a lot of deaths being linked to muscle or to age-related atrophy. You know, people fall and break their hip all the time, and people, you know, put things up in counters and shatter something, you know, especially when you get older, and it's something that people neglect. So for health reasons, I would encourage everybody. And not only that, but it makes you a better athlete too.
That's what I was going to say. If you're an athlete, I've got kids who are on the basketball court, you're just like, holy shit, like they're nuts. Like their coordination is crazy.
Yeah.
Put them in the weight room. I'll never forget it. The one kid who is now going to play in college, who I trained 2-3 years ago, very athletic, great basketball player, goes to dumbbell bench, and the right dumbbell goes up, and he can't with the left one. Yeah. He didn't have the body awareness or the coordination in that regard to have the muscle contraction to fire. Next thing we know, we get him into the weight room. I train him for just one-on-one, get his mind-muscle connection a lot better. Next, you know, the next year went from an average JV player to, you know, the guy pretty much a stud on the varsity team, played for the Adidas AAU team, traveled all over the United States, and honestly, he put on 15 pounds, but he had such better body control. He had better body awareness, and he also was like, oh shit, I'm kind of looking a little jacked in my basketball jersey, and he had confidence.
And then he's primed for D1.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, but he worked. He was one of those kids though. He'd run through a wall. I mean, he worked his ass off. But doing those unilateral movements, you know, it will make you more coordinated. It will make you more athletic, whether you're competing at a high level or not. You'd be surprised how many people who I have trained. They don't even know their coordination's bad because they've never even done anything to know if they're coordinated or not. You know, so that is huge. And being well-balanced individual for overall health and longevity.
Yeah, not only that, but, you know, something else I'd like to go over with you is, you know, the training for sports specifically. I'm trying to think of what I want to say here. Basically, it's gotten a lot better. I mean, back in the day when they used to have you, like, for instance, baseball, they used to have you pitch over and over and over and over again, and no weights, and you'd have people run and gas and all that stuff. And now the batting averages of individual players are insane comparatively to 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yep.
And a lot of that has to do with more intelligent training. You know, and you can see this in boxing a little bit too, because they'll still do the old style, like you only jump rope, right? Then you have all of your practice being the actual match and sparring, right? So there's still some old school coaches that have that approach. And then you have other guys that come in there and knock those guys out because they're doing things like squats, step-ups. They're doing dumbbell rows. They're doing all that stuff on top of the already very specific training that they're doing for boxing, right? Some of the greats, and I know this is controversial to say, but some of the greats that have been in sports pale in comparison to how athletic they were compared to the guys nowadays. And that's just because of the knowledge that they have about training.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a reality. People want to deny it, and it's like, you know, the whole, well, Michael Jordan's not even a good comparison because he was an athletic freak, but I mean, you look at the athletes in the old days, were they at their prime? Were they the best? Yes. But as a whole, people were not as athletic. They were not as big back then because, yeah, they lifted, but they didn't have, like you said, the knowledge or, the equipment or the tools to develop the way people are now. If they were in this day and age, would they be just as good as everybody else? We don't know.
They'd probably be better, I'll be honest. I mean something you also got to understand is athletic. Your time spent, the lifespan of your career is also longer in many cases now as well. Just because, with exceptions of things like football, of course, because of repeated head injuries and stuff like that.
Even that, though, you see quarterbacks who are 45 years old. I mean, in their 40s. That wasn't back in the day. When they like you said, the helmets weren't as good. And, this and that. They weren't playing.
Actually,
People weren't playing in their 40s.
The leather helmets were actually safer, if I understand that correctly. It's the how big the guys are now, because back in the day, 250-pound linemen were just gigantic, absurdly big men. Now you have some 400-pound boys.
Right.
Just like coming at you like a freight train, just running into you and just completely destroying your day.
Yeah. I mean, you got running backs running the 4.4 who walk around with 6% body fat and look like a bodybuilder. And that could be for other reasons as well. But it's a different ball game now in all sports and in general.
Yeah, but I do believe that some of the other repeated use injuries we're also starting to avoid now in athletes, so they can extend their career. Like for instance, I always harken it back to you were in baseball. Well, how many guys did you know with muscle imbalances that started hurting and then it turned into a tweak and then it turned into an injury and then it turned into their career's done?
I mean, unfortunately, I would see it frequently. You could tell, and just to the grind of the professional level and even college, you can see who was in shape, who trained, because their stats didn't drop off. Like as the year went on, they didn't get worse. And my mentality was, I was that kid in college where my lifting coach would tell me, if you wanted to punish me, take away the weight room. And it happened before I wore the wrong shirt to practice, same color but old brand, and coach made me run after. And I put my headphones in, I'm running bleachers, and he said, okay, Skell, you're done. But as I was running, the lifting coach came out, and he's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, he's got to do punishment run. He goes, you're not punishing him. He's like, I guarantee you, when you get attention to stop, he'll tell you he's going to do 10 more minutes because he's going to do it anyway. And I had my headphones in the basketball arena, so I couldn't hear him. They were way down the bottom. And they get my attention. They said, you're done. And I'm like, I'm going to, it was funny. I said, I'm going to go another 10 minutes or so because I was going to do it anyway. And the baseball coach is like, are you kidding me? And literally, they said, he's like, if you want to get in trouble, take away the weight room. But I was one of those guys where we go to Florida, you play 10 games, game 9, game 10, I was still hitting doubles or still playing, and other guys were gassed because they didn't train hard in the offseason. So I think the lifting and the training, it literally, I always looked at it this way. It was back to what I was saying was the season was a break for my body. So my goal was in the offseason was to make it so vigorous and so just brutal that come season, I was like, this is cake. My body's not tired. This is the rest.
Yeah.
That was the goal. Now, football's different. You're getting physically hit. But with baseball and stuff, the goal was, it was literally a break for my body. So that's the way I always kind of looked at the offseason, how I think athletes should treat it, is your offseason, it should be brutal to be successful for a whole season, for a whole year.
Yeah, no, I have to agree there. My friend who works out at my local gym, his name is Cade. Shout out Cade if you're listening. He's in Colorado right now chasing a woman, as men do.
Oh, boy.
But my buddy Cade, he actually ended up injuring himself. He was ready to get, actually, there was a pro scout at his, because he was in baseball too. Or he was doing the whole baseball thing. There was a scout that came by, and this was the time. He went up for a pitch, and he actually tore his bicep off the bone. At the scout thing, I don't know what you'd call it.
Showcases.
Yeah, showcase. I think that's what he called it. Yeah, but he ended up tearing at the showcase with the scout. He tore his bicep, and he said himself that was probably just overuse and neglect in training his body parts equally, which is why now he's more concentrating, because his dad was a bodybuilder and he's concentrating on every muscle group kind of getting its heyday, And you know, that's something I really like about bodybuilding, and I really do appreciate about it is you have balanced physiques, or as balanced as one can given their genetics.
Right.
You know, and
Or you can, I mean, you can hide it. You know, you can pose
yeah,
a certain way because I mean, not everything is going to be symmetrical to the inch.
no.
You know, or even quarter of an inch. Something's going to be, your right leg might be a little off compared to your left by the quarter of an inch. But the goal is to make them look as even as you can, and that's where the art of posing and whatnot comes in. But yes, I mean, working, like we said before, the unilateral movements are they're crucial to be healthy and successful.
So what are some of the movements that you're using right now? What is your training setup to be to get you bigger? Like what have you added or what have you gotten rid of?
I mean, honestly, I kind of just go off like how I feel during that day. There are certain things I stick to. I love incline dumbbell benching, but it sounds bad, I hate having to heave the dumbbells up. You get to, you grab 120s, and it gives me, I wouldn't say anxiety, but it's more just like, oh my God, I have to heave these up and then have the energy to then press. So, sticking to, I like to stick to like the barbell incline if I can. But I do switch it up from like week to week. I might do the barbell incline for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I will go do dumbbell. Just so I don't get stuck in that one range of motion. I feel like that's really helped me grow. And it keeps my body, as everyone says, like guessing, but I'm not changing my workout every week. You're still doing the same motion. You're still trying to do the same reps, but using a barbell compared to a dumbbell. But things that just to help with this bulk is now that I'm eating more food, a lot more food, a good amount of food compared to before, just to maintain my weight. Yeah. I'm really just trying to focus on going heavier rack pulls again. Now that my back's getting better, heavier on the incline bench or dumbbell bench, and really just starting to focus more on, in general, moving heavier weight than I have in the last 2 months. The last 2 months, I was lifting maybe 3-4 times a week, and each meal was only 60 to 70 carbs, and that was to maintain at 250. Now, I'm trying to little competition with Cornelius Jones at the gym, 30 pounds in 8 weeks, and I don't eat junk food really. Like I eat, I might have 2 cheat meals a week doing this, but I will have cereal.
You're gonna learn today. Yeah.
I try to
get some junk food in.
Yeah,
that's a lot of weight.
For me to get to 300, I mean, I've been 275 before, and eating, so-called clean, I call it healthy, every meal, and just having 2 cheat meals a week. I would do cereal post-workout to get carbs in, but I still do keep it clean because I feel like it'll just put on better weight instead of just water and fat, and I don't feel as crappy.
Right.
But the goal is,
highs and lows, yeah.
Right. You don't have that the fluctuation of energy. Your digestion isn't fluctuating as much, which is huge when you're trying to add weight. But with the added calories and stuff, I'm just really honestly, man, just focusing on trying to push myself more. And it sounds bad, but the last 2 months, I've just gone in there to maintain per se, and now say, okay, I've got to change my mindset to just get aggressive as fuck, pretty much, pardon the language, but just get angry and go back to moving heavy weight. And just force myself to do it and know that, like I've noticed, I'm a little more sore now. Like I'm waking up and I'm like, oh shit, I did heavy rows yesterday, or my legs. I'm getting sore again.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing too, okay, I can't train 3 days in a row. Today was a rest day because I can't. Like I'm just too sore, and I forced legs yesterday. I came home. It wasn't even a hard workout. I fell asleep on the floor for half an hour with the dog. Didn't even know it. I'm just like, okay. With the training intensity, which I'll do more of now, being very more intense, heavier weight, my split will be like every other day, and that's what's worked best for me in the past. But for people listening, like, you've got to train hard to do that. If you're training 6 days a week and feel good, that's a sign you're not pushing yourself. You should look forward to a rest day. I do. I used to not. but now I can't wait for a rest day because I'm so beat up, you know. And that's what's gotten me That's what's gotten me the best results. And it's just you got to train the mind just as hard as the body, and just go in there and just for an hour and a half, which is hard for me to do, just kind of be an asshole, like with yourself. Just be aggressive. Know that when you go work out, I get a little anxiety. I know it's going to suck. I'm not going to feel good, but I know it'll give me the results that I want. So
but you know,
that's my big approach.
Something that helps you too is you have an athletic background. You're not afraid of living in this place called uncomfortable. It's one of those things that people, when they first start, like, you know, that everybody knows that person who starts training later in life, or they start weight loss or weight gain later in life, and then they feel uncomfortable, and then they just stop. Yeah. Well, you need to learn to be okay with being uncomfortable, because trust me in this, it is temporary. That uncomfortable feeling is temporary. You will feel bouts of it throughout the day. If you eat like we do, you'll probably feel it close to your last or second to last meal. You know, you'll probably feel uncomfortable when you unrack the weight. You'll probably feel uncomfortable if the AC is not set to your liking in the gym, or you don't exactly get, or the song cuts off because you get a call at the gym or whatever, you know, like. But it's okay to be uncomfortable, and some people, you know, a lot of people who do not have an athletic background have a hard time wrapping their head around that.
Yeah, that's the thing too. You look at a lot of successful bodybuilders, or honestly, I mean, not just bodybuilders. I don't want to stereotype or focus on just competing. People in general who are successful, they were an athlete at one point. They know what it takes to be competitive, and that's just like in life in general. You're not afraid to get up for work in the morning. You know, okay, I have to be to work. You're used to having a commitment to something. Yeah. A lot of people who aren't successful, whether it be they try to bodybuild or a diet or whatnot, they were never an athlete. I'm talking past your local rec league. They were not an athlete at the high school or college level, so they don't know what commitment really truly is. It's just something you kind of almost you're bred to do, you know. So
well, and then there's people like Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, who sits there and he earned a bunch of money and then became Jack later on, and you know, it'll be fine. Like,
but still, he mentally though. Think about it. You know, he had that mindset, whether it was from sports or he was raised properly, or he had that mindset.
That was me, guys. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
To get a goal. I mean, that was him. He was raised where if you want a goal, if you want to get something, you got to work for it. So it also comes to how are you raised? How are your parents raising you? Are they just whatever you want, or are they hard on you? Are they making you work for stuff? Because that's going to also breed success, you know, later on too. So.
You know, I'm also a fan of changing yourself for the better later in life too. It's you're the stopgap. You're the guy. Like if things fall apart in your life, and I know nobody likes to think like this, but it's something that's actually helped me. Like if something fucks up in my life, that's me. You know, I didn't go to the gym. I didn't get that meal in. I didn't do this, right? And you know, I don't know whether it's like a different breed of animal that I am, quote unquote. Like I can have that little moniker on my my Instagram handle or whatever, right? Like the Beast. Or whatever, like everybody is nowadays. But I don't know what it is, but it's like, you know, I finally, once I got, you know, it stops here. It stops with personal responsibility. I kind of got my shit together.
I mean, that's how you lost all the weight. I mean,
well,
you know.
Not only that, but like, you know, I got my shit together as a dad. I got my shit together as a husband. I got my shit together as, you know, a son. I know it's a little weird, but I call my parents daily just because it's the thing you do, right?
I talk to my mom almost probably every. I'm a little busier now, but
but within reason.
Within a couple of days, I don't go. Maybe the most I'll go is 2 days. I'll call my mom, just because as you get older, you appreciate things.
And you know, you never know exactly how good you have it. Everybody has these glasses that they have in front of them that makes things seem a lot worse than they actually are. Like, okay, you don't have the body you want. Well, work on it. Like, brick by brick. You know, I mean, it's literally, if you think of life as a game of building Legos, it works.
I had a funny story. As I work at a supplement store part time on the weekends, and I told a lady, I was like, she wanted an energy supplement to lose weight, but I think I mentioned this in the last one. She had high blood pressure, whatever. And I said, honestly, it just comes down to forcing yourself to do it. I'm like, honestly, I can't say I enjoy going to the gym like I used to. I used to get excited for it all day, think about it. Right. Now I'm so busy with life, and I've been doing it for so long now. It's a habit. I told Leah, I force myself to the gym 90% of the time. And she goes, no way, looking like that, you force yourself to the gym. I'm like, no, this is why I look this way. Because I force myself to go when I don't want to go.
Come on, Ryan. No, be honest with us. There's no hard work that goes into that. Come on, man.
No, I mean, when I come home from coaching and teaching all day, the couch, I fall asleep eating, it feels great. Yeah. But it's like, okay, I could sit there and do it, but then I just force myself to go. You got to have that motor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and, I don't think anybody who listens to these podcasts has that issue,
No.
We have a pretty motivated community, but if you have anybody that you'd like to share this little clip, I think I'm gonna clip this. I'm gonna actually start uploading clips for you guys of best moments of the Hatecast and stuff like that. But get off your ass and do things. You're the stopgap. But with that being said, it's one of those things where be okay with being uncomfortable, like we said before. And that doesn't mean I'm telling you to go in there and, rest in peace, Rich Piana, but have an 8-hour workout,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, do the work that some people it helps them to write it down, and then other people, if they write it down, it just completely destroys them. So you need to find what works for you. And, but one of the things that I can say is at least have a small outline of a plan,
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you. Are you one of those people that carry around a training journal? I know you have a coach that we are hopefully going to get on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I don't carry around a training journal. Like I said, when I first started to, I think I did just to keep me focused. But now I've been, by no means am I a pro, obviously, but I've been lifting long enough where, I know the way I did last week on barbell row. I don't need a little bit of chart to write down. Now there are even some of the top trainers, Jordan Peters, he believes in a log book, and there are people who do, and that's great. But like we said earlier, you get to that log book, and people stress, well, it forces you to say, I did 355 on squat, I've got to do 365. But what happens if you feel like shit and your hip is messed up, your back hurts? You force yourself to do it, and you get hurt. So I kind of feel like you can write it down, but you've got to have the experience to know, all right, you know what, I'm just not getting contraction today with this exercise. I'm going to move on, and maybe instead of squats, I'll go to the machine squat, or do hack squats instead to get a better contraction of the muscles. So you're not just you're literally going to waste your time if you just go through the motions. So,
and, guys, don't feel bad if you can't tell that yet. That's something that also comes with experience in the gym.
Yeah, I've been lifting for 11, 12 years since started, when I was 17. That's my whole logbook thing, but, been doing it for a long time. So, I can't say I'm against it because I even thought about still doing it to this day of doing a logbook, but I just feel like mentally it would force me to go to be on what I should some days if I'm battling an injury or something, which as I get older, it seems like I've got more aches and pains now than I used to. So,
yeah, see, I just use an app. I'm giving that responsibility of keeping up with a notebook to someone else.
Yes.
So I use an app to track all my numbers, and I do that not specifically because I'm one of those people that sit there in front of spreadsheets and plan out my entire 5 years of training, but I will say that I'm one of those people that has a log up on our home forum, Anabolic Minds. So if you would like to look at the actual numbers that I'm lifting and the actual workouts that I have, you can go ahead and look over there. Yeah, that's just my social media thing that I'm doing. I'm trying to, because people wanted me to run a log over there. But it is nice to know if it's like an all-time PR or a body weight PR or
Oh
something like
no,
that.
for sure, and that's why I also enjoy like bulking, lifting heavy because everyone's you chase a pump. Well, I'm sorry, that shit gets boring. Just going in to get a pump, like, oh, I'm going to pump today. Well, that's really motivating. Or if like, hey, I benched 450 last week, I only get 455 this week. I'm going to do it today. It gives you that sense of satisfaction, which we all want. As where you get a pump, it's like, oh, cool, I got a pump. Fuck. All right.
Well, also it gives us a bit of variation in our training in something
Right.
that I'll be honest with you. I absolutely love everything about the gym. Iron is in my blood. I absolutely fucking love the gym, training, nutrition, all that stuff. I have a real passion for it. But lifting can become mundane if you've done it for 8, 10, 15, 19, 20 years. It can become pretty monotonous. And that's one of the things that you can do, actually play around with your rep schemes, your intensity. Do some. I'm a big fan of metabolite training just because it feels great while you're doing it. Stuff like drop sets, giant sets, and the like. I'm even a fan of, I need to try out blood flow restriction training. I'm just so
I've done it.
freaking...
You got to go. I'll get a little shout out here, but my friend Brent, he sells these bands, which I post on my Instagram, and they're pretty popular. But they're called Beyond the Best, and I can send you a link later. But they're not expensive. He doesn't like they're I don't know, maybe $12. They're not anything over the top, but I use them for arms because they're big. They're not big enough for my quads, but I use them for arms. I use them for calves, and I must say, I didn't do them until last year a little, and I would get lazy. But I will say the pump that I get is stupid. And then when you take them off, the feeling you get when you remove the bands and you take them off, it's all of a sudden like the blood just rushes to the muscle. It is, if you know how to feel your body, it's pretty cool. I think it has helped. My arms are up half an inch since doing it, and I haven't even pushed in the food or anything like that. And I'm nothing big, but they're from 18 to 18 and a half. And the pump, when I get a pump, they literally would go up like 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches with the pump. Yeah, it almost is the point where like this hurts. Like am I tearing my bicep?
So you sitting there in the backstage in the pump up place. You going doing some blood flow restriction right before a show.
Yeah, I don't know if it didn't mess up the tan.
Oh well, that's true.
But it might screw that up. But
I've seen some guys doing. I've seen some backstage footage from a buddy of mine, and there were quite a few guys over there with tourniquets doing it. So, some people do it. I just, I'm pretty fair skinned, so it wouldn't be my thing, but.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. I couldn't do it either. I have a streak or a line that would just look like shit.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where if, don't be afraid to play around with variation of all kinds. Jamie's a big proponent of that as well. He loves the intensity multipliers, the drop sets and stuff like that. Something else you can do is try and find a movement that it does the same thing, but it's just different, like instead of doing dumbbell bench press, do barbell, or barbell, do dumbbell, or don't be afraid to do straight bar pullovers, which is something I don't see people do anymore. So those are pretty fun. But just play around with it. I mean, something you don't hear anyone complain of is specifically kids. You don't hear them complain about going and playing like outside stuff, right?
Right.
Generally, unless it's hot or something like that, right? Like that, first world problem sort of thing. But you don't hear them, complain about going up on the monkey bars and stuff like that because it's fun. Like make training fun, But with that being said, we're coming up on an hour, man.
Yeah,
already.
It's easy to get carried away with these, but
yeah. So we will get the details from Cornelius and see when we can't set that up. In the meantime, guys,
probably listening. So I say he's probably gonna listen to this one, so we can call him out. He listens to them all, so he listens to everyone so far. He really enjoys them.
Hashtag call out Cornelius. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get it trending. But thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and like it. If you dislike this video, you know what you can do. I think there's a hide notifications button. You can subscribe anyway because it does help us, and I know that you're a bro. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. I do want to share with you guys a bit of news, and this is not private information anymore. Jamie did get, he is in jail right now, so he will be absent from these hate casts for a little bit. So with that information at hand, I am going to try and bring you guys some awesome guests so that we can keep a spot warm. So I'll have Cornelius on. I'll have I'm going to try and schedule with Jim. I'm going to try and schedule with we have a strongman competitor that I'm in the talks with right now. I have Zach Spicer that we can probably get back on, and of course Ed and all of your favorites and more. So guys, stay tuned. Be on the lookout for more awesome episodes, and thanks for listening. We will see you in the next one.